with government is that they collect enormous amounts of data. They are sitting on a treasure trove of information, but a lot of the times they can't access that data and use it to its full potential. I have never met a public servant that doesn't want to genuinely make a difference in their community, but they are handcuffed by archaic systems and manual processes. They're not here for the money and the glory, but they don't have the tools and resources to do better.
We'll give you an example. Like, this is a real picture. You can actually see one of our co-founders, Herman, in the corner there. When the government of British Columbia makes a decision around what can be done with land, what can be built there, what can, natural resources, what can be drilled there or logged there. This is a real picture of how governments make decisions. They bring in a representative of different agencies, jurisdictions, and they all kind of open up their binders and they say, here's what the Ministry of Environment thinks, here's what the Ministry of Transportation thinks. It's a very slow, laborious process, and this fragmentation prevents the ability of governments from using the latest technologies like artificial intelligence.
Yet there is so much advancement in the private sector. I want to know by a show of hands, who knows what generative AI is? Right? Okay, who's used generative AI? Right? There's some big names that we know, right? We have ChatGPT, we have Mistral AI, we have Llama, right? These are huge advancements. And it's crazy to think that what the world was like before we had this, right? They really are a virtual assistant that make us so much more efficient. And they really have changed the way that we do things. Now imagine the possibilities of this type of technology in the hands of public servants that are making decisions that impact the lives of every single person. But the problem is, and it's a problem, but it's also a good thing, that governments are held to a higher standard when it comes to adopting new technologies, and rightfully so.
Some considerations which are unique to government is governments don't have the luxury of deciding they're only going to use internet data or machine-readable data. They have lots of historical data that has to be considered in their decisions. They also have unique data restrictions. So governments have all this different data, but there are different rules depending on the use case, jurisdiction, and who can access healthcare data or tax data. Governments also make decisions that, they're spending billions of dollars at a time, oftentimes have life or death circumstances. So as a data scientist, if you can get 99% accuracy, any data scientist would normally be thrilled with that. But in government, a 1% error rate could have disastrous consequences. So governments have a much higher standard of what they have to achieve in terms of accuracy. We all, I think, have heard about the New York Times OpenAI lawsuit. So right now, as kind of citizens, we're just kind of fascinating watching the soap opera unfold. But governments don't have the luxury of saying, well, we'll use this stuff for now, and then we'll see what happens as the lawsuits unfold. Governments have to hold themselves to a standard in terms of enforcing the very laws that they're creating. We've talked about this. You'll notice I had a theme on the last panel, always obsession around domain knowledge. So it's one thing where ChatGPT can do amazing things like write poetry, etc. But it can't, for example, figure out a lot of urban planning processes because that's a domain that's unique to government. That's not really shared outside the government knowledge base. And then finally, there's something called sunshine laws. So in the United States and Canada and other governments, oftentimes, they are required to be able to keep a track record of how you came to a decision. So that 5-7 years later, if someone challenges and says, we don't think this investment was done equitably across communities, can you prove to us how you came to this decision? So these are types of things, like if we use ChatGPT right now, I'm a big fan of it, but I'm not really worried about whether 5 years from now I remembered what I did with it. But governments actually, in many cases, are required to keep receipts of everything they did in terms of data processing. So the end result of that is as these technologies proliferate, they're getting smarter and smarter. We're at South by Southwest. We're all seeing those exciting technologies. Governments are increasingly being more and more handcuffed. There are more and more rules against governments using these same technologies that everyone else is benefiting.
So it brings us to today, and we're so excited about this. UrbanLogiq exists because we fundamentally believe that the best advancements in technologies belong in the hands of public servants. I want to see you with a raise of hands. It might sound like a dumb question, but who here pays taxes? Right? There's always that saying, there's two very certain things in life, death and taxes. Every single person here has a stake in how governments operate and how they make decisions. Public servants make decisions that impact the quality of life for future generations. So we want to do that, and we want to bring that power into the hands of public servants, but we believe that it can be done, and it should be done responsibly, ethically, and transparently. So we're so excited to be here today to introduce you guys to Ethica.
So Ethica has been a secret project UrbanLogiq is working on for a long time. It is the crowning achievement of the AI platform we've been building. So UrbanLogiq started 8 years ago, 2016, where our goal was to harness the power of data and provide artificial intelligence into every public servant's hands and the smallest governments in a way that they could trust. And I think one of the things that we've been following along as generative AI has been progressing, and we've always looked at it from the lens of, can we put this in the hands of public servants? And so when we were talking with the Frontier Collective and about doing something, we thought, well, we need to announce this sometime. What better place than South by Southwest at the Vancouver Takeover Day? So here's kind of what makes it different. UrbanLogiq takes data from every level of government, federal, state, provincial, county, regional, local governments across every domain: transportation, economic development, urban planning, public safety, social services, as well as private sector data. So we create one common operating picture of all data related to how a community behaves. We then federate that data access. So all that means by that is, depending on your individual user account, the system will blind itself to data that you should not see. So depending on whether that data is personally identifiable or is related to healthcare data, et cetera, you may need to know a certain amount of facts, but not the full details of a person's individual name or the health circumstances. So it'll cleanse the data relative to how much do you actually need to know. One of the things we're excited about is, if you or I use ChatGPT or Mistral right now, and we ask it the same question, it'll give us the same answer because it doesn't differentiate between Natasha or myself. But what UrbanLogiq does, if Jamie, from Nanaimo logs in and he asks, what should I worry about today? It knows he's a traffic engineer in the city of Nanaimo, so it'll pull the road sensor data and say, we see alarming increases in congestion, so you're going to have a high peak hour factor. It selects the data and it changes the language unique to each individual user. The exact same question if Robinson asks it in New York City. It'll know that he's an economic development manager in New York City, and it'll say that we've seen actually through private sector data that a lot less people are going to bars, restaurants, movies on a Friday night. So we think there's an economic downturn coming in the Queens borough of New York City. As we mentioned, one of the things that governments have to do is they have to be able to understand, like, do I really trust this? If it gives me an answer like, you should build a highway here, I would like to know why you said that. So one of the things UrbanLogiq does is we fully reveal all the data sources that were included in the calculation. As mentioned previously on the audit trail, so one of the things that UrbanLogiq does is we count every single decision that every piece of data that went in the system. We count who accessed it, what it was done with it, and who it was shared with. And then finally, it's built-in compliance for government. So what we mean by that is, I was talking with the mayor of a town of about 100,000 people. Vancouver has a chief AI officer. New York has a director of algorithms. San Jose has a chief privacy officer. But this town, they want to use AI, but they don't really have the resources to follow all the different rules. So everything in UrbanLogiq is automatically compliant with all the laws. So we'll give you kind of a quick walkthrough of what the platform looks like. This is the first time it's ever revealed publicly, the UrbanLogiq Ethica platform. So you can ask it a question, for example, on, let's say you're a real estate developer or an urban planner, and you want to know what kind of changes have been made to the zoning codes. It'll check the bylaws, budgets, regulations, engineering reports, and it'll present you that information. And then you'll also notice one of the things that it does there, it says it has an answer quality. So the system will actually say, do I have different data sources, and do they disagree? So this system, for example, noticed that we actually have a different answer from the provincial government as a local government, so it flags, do not trust my answer, and it'll also say, here are the different data sources I've looked at. And then therefore you can kind of check for yourselves on which of these two different data sources do I want to trust with. And then I think we can move to the next one. So I think one of the things we want to share is, like, that first glance is only the first of the first steps. So phase one of UrbanLogiq, which we've rolled out right now, is what you saw, is the ability for it to pull data and give you access to all the data. So you don't have to Google things. You don't have to say, did I miss the right website? Did I look in the right place? So it'll pull all that information. The second stage that we're moving towards is UrbanLogiq has built a system called a decision support system. So if I build an apartment building here, or if I close this bridge, what will be the impact on local traffic or restaurants or schools? So the system will automatically compute that and give you that answer. So it's not just data retrieval, it'll start to calculate things on your behalf. One of the things that we came across, one of our clients, they have 80 data scientists in their transportation team. One of our clients, their entire transportation department, his name is Jason. It's like one dude by himself. And so, but his town shouldn't have less safe roads simply because they have a smaller population and tax base. So one of the things we've done is we've started building models where it trains it on all the expertise. So one town, like a one-person transportation department, would be equipped as if he had an entire army of data scientists trained on the world's latest data and expertise. And then finally, one of the things we're working towards is we've been working with a lot of our clients to identify what are the processes that suck up your time. We're not looking to replace people. We're looking to kind of unleash them from things that waste their time. So we're working with our clients to identify what are the things that hold you back from making smarter decisions because it takes too long, it costs too much. And if we can automate those things, then we can bring the best high-quality decisions to even the smallest decision.
I think you can arguably say that artificial intelligence is probably one of the greatest inventions in human history thus far. And we're so excited to be able to bring that into the hands of public servants that are really trying to make a difference in their community and doing it responsibly.
I want to thank the Frontier Collective for giving us this opportunity because we were looking when we realized I got a call early in January that said, you know, Ethica's talking back to us because we've been working on this for a while and you never know when this thing's going to come live, and it started talking back to us and making sense, and we started thinking when can we do something, you know, special to unveil it, and it's a huge honor to unveil this here in South by Southwest with Frontier Collective, representing as a Vancouver company. I also want to give a shout out to Max Burke and Morgan Brooks, two of our engineers who really have killed themselves to get this done, and they became sick so they couldn't even come down here because they've been spending all the time building this. I want to share that with them. And then I think one of the things we want to share also is that we've quietly begun rolling this out to a select list of government partners as we're co-developing this with them so that it's designed for their needs. And I think later towards this year, this system will move into full production.
We do have a QR code on the screen, if I'll move out of the way. If you want to scan that, you can sign up for a waitlist and you'll get all of the information and it updates on Ethica as we kind of roll it out. Thank you so much, everyone.